Interpretation of verse 40 of Sura An-Nisa. It is reported that Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said that he heard the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, say, if a slave converts to Islam and begins to practice it properly, then Allah will forgive him any sin committed them before. After that, the reward for him will be as follows: for every good deed you will receive a tenfold reward, which can grow up to 700 times, and for every bad deed, he will be rewarded only equal, unless Allah forgives him. This hadith was narrated by Ahmad and al-Bukhari, and its text is given according to the version of the latter. Interpretation of verse 41 of Surah An-Nisa. It is reported that Abdullah Mas'ud said, the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said to me, read the Quran to me. I said, O Messenger of Allah, shall I recite it to you when it was sent down to you? He replied, yes. Then I began to read to him Surah An-Nisa until I reached the words, what will happen when we bring a witness from each community, and we bring you as a witness against these? Then he said, that's enough. I turned to him, and his eyes were filled with tears. This hadith was reported by al-Bukhari and others. Interpretation of verse 48 of Surah An-Nisa. This verse testifies to the benefits of monotheism and worship of Allah alone, and indicates that if a person does not associate partners with Allah, then sooner or later he will certainly fall into paradise. This is also mentioned in many hadiths of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. It is reported from the words of Jabir that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, whoever appears before Allah without associating anything with him, he will go to paradise, and whoever stands before him, joining something to him, he will fall into the fire. This hadith was narrated by Ahmad and Muslim. As Sadi wrote, the Almighty said that if a person associates partners with him, then Allah does not forgive him for this, but forgives all less serious sins, both small and great, to whom he wishes, guided by his wisdom and forgiveness. There are many factors that contribute to the forgiveness of Allah's sins, which are inferior in severity to polytheism. Among them are righteous deeds that wash away evil deeds, worldly difficulties expiating sins, intermediate life after death until resurrection, doomsday events, prayers of the faithful for each other, intercession of intercessors. Among other things, there is also the mercy of Allah, which is awarded to every believer who worships one Lord. But if a person associates partners with Allah, then he closes the doors of forgiveness and mercy before him, since righteous deeds do not bring benefits. If a person does not profess monotheism, and no misfortunes can atone for his sins. And on the day of resurrection, he will have neither intercessors nor close friends. It also follows from this verse that among the Muslims there will be those who will atone for their sins in hell, after which Allah will forgive them and enter them into paradise. This is confirmed by many authentic hadiths. It is narrated from the words of Ibn Mas'ud that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, I know the last of the inhabitants of the underworld who will be able to get out of there and enter paradise. This person will crawl out of hell, and then the great and mighty Allah will say to him, go and enter paradise. He will come to paradise, and it will seem to him that it is already full. Then he will return and say, Lord, heaven is already full. The great and mighty Allah will say to him, go and enter paradise. He will again approach paradise, and again it will seem to him that he already filled. He will return again and say, Lord, Heaven is already full. The great and mighty Allah will say again, go and enter paradise. Your possessions will be 10 times the size of the earthly world. He will say, are you laughing at me? After all, you are the Lord. Ibn Masud said, I saw the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. After these words he laughed, so that you could see his big molars. Then the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, added, he will be the poorest of the inhabitants of paradise. This hadith was narrated by al-Bukhari and Muslim.